Britain's most controversial business, Wonga, the payday loan company. They've become a byword for easy money at crippling interest rates. They don't like it.
And the idea that we charge thousands of % interest is a myth.
Their chief operating officer is here to explain why all the negative press is wrong. And this.
Don't bless jihad! Don't bless jihad!
The radical feminist group Femen coming to a protest near you. First the club card, now Tesco has a face scanner, soon to be installed at their petrol station tills. It'll check your sex and your age range to give you tailor-made adverts, innocuous or the latest assault on your privacy. We'll ask the man who is behind Tesco club card and a privacy campaigner. Good evening. Payday loan companies are regularly accused of spreading misery with expensive money. Making profits out of people's financial pain is the accusation. But now one of the most prominent, Wonga, are on a charm offensive. Tomorrow they launch a Wonga-made movie featuring 12 happy customers for whom fast money, they say, has been the answer to their prayers. In a moment I'll be speaking to senior Wonga executive Neil Voss. But first, here's Andrew Verity.
I love cutting children's hair. They enjoy having their hair cut in nursery.
They're the voices of Wonga. According to none other than Wonga. Tomorrow, the company will release a film imaginatively titled Wonga the Movie. It follows 12 people who have all taken out loans and, naturally, repaid them promptly.
We've been together for 3 years. Last year, I asked her to marry me. My dream was to have kids and live together in a nice house.
But over the past year, we've heard from Wonga customers who found its easy credit too tempting. No paper documents or signatures are required. If you run out of money on a Friday night, all you need is a smartphone, and the money can be in your account in 5 minutes. That's led some to use one loan to repay another, digging themselves deeper into debt.
When you see them advertised, it's just so easy to get. You know, you're just a few minutes online, you state how much that you want, but you don't really notice how much interest you're paying back. And I think the interest rate should definitely be capped because it's an awful lot of money that they ask you.
Wonga's transparency makes it easy prey for critics who seize on the annual percentage rate Wonga's required to display of more than 5,000%. As Wonga points out, its customers won't actually pay that. They will pay 1% a day or 365%. Too expensive, but also too tempting, say critics, for under 18s.
They all claim not to lend to them. Wonga try to say that they're not like the other payday lenders, but actually if Wonga really want to be transparent, they should come clean about the fact that the Office of Fair Trading has written to warn them about their conduct, just as they have to 50 other payday lenders in this country, because of the widespread bad practice in this industry. The Citizens Advice Bureau tells us that they're all ignoring 10 out of 12 of their own voluntary codes of conduct. It's completely out of control.
1 million customers who know what they'll be paying want this instant credit, which they can't get from a bank. And Wonga says about 8 out of 10 applicants for a first loan are turned down. The question is whether Wonga the Movie will be enough to detoxify the brand and outshout its critics.
Andrew Verity, well, joining me now is the Chief Operating Officer of Wonga, Neil Voss. First of all, Neil Voss, did you realise that your image was so bad at Wonga that you had to make your own movie?
Well, today we're announcing a movie called 12 Portraits from a director called Gary Tarn, and he's trying to dispel some of the myths that our image that you refer to has out there in the UK. I think if you look at the movie, what you'll see is a representation of our customer base, 12 portraits in fact, representing actually 1 million active customers. So you can make up your own mind.
Yes, I mean, he was hired by Wonga to make the movie. He's not doing it as an independent, acting independently from you. What about the criticism that these are 12 happy customers and so therefore it isn't a rounded picture because these are 12 customers who presumably have paid their money back on term quickly, and that is not the case for all your customers?
Yeah, I think Gary, first of all, had complete editorial independence over what he made. He chose the customers himself. We gave him a database, he selected them. We have 1 million active customers, as you rightly pointed out.
Can I just take you back on that? freehand, he was, he who pays the piper plays the tune, that's first of all. And actually, if Gary Tarn had produced a film which showed somebody defaulting on their wonga loan, having to perhaps pay 375% credit, getting another loan to pay off a wonga loan, destitute on the pavement, would you have been happy that would be in the film?
Well, there are 12 portraits, one of whom actually has defaulted, and if you look at the interest and fees on our site Open Wonga, you'll see that included with one of those is a default of one of the customers.
But this customer is not a destitute customer.
No, and the vast majority of our customers are not. And this is why we're making the film, because the perception out there is that all of our customers are poor and vulnerable, and we think the voice of the silent majority, the people who actually use the service, is not being heard.
But the trouble is, if you present too rosy a picture, it encourages people that perhaps really can't afford it to take a loan. I just want to play a little clip. We heard from Liz Matthews in the film, and this is what happened to her.
I got into a vicious cycle where I'd borrowed altogether 4 loans, and in the end I just could not pay any of them back.
So how much was the original loan, and
the
how much do you owe now?
The original was for £300, and I owe now nearly £2,000. And I was very frightened, I was very worried. I thought, how am I going to pay this back? And it's just so worrying. You can't sleep, you just can't sleep at night.
Now, Liz Matthews, she had a first wonga loan, then a second wonga loan. I mean, what were the affordability checks? You say you do affordability checks, but I mean, she got herself into terrible trouble.
Yes, well, I can't comment on Liz's particular case because I'm not familiar with it. That's the first I've heard of it. I'm not even sure if Liz is actually a wonga customer or not.
So the first loan she took out 6 months ago, she took 300, which she paid back, and then she took 400, and then she got into trouble. Because the thing about Liz Matthews is, and everybody else, is you don't require any documents, proof of what they're saying is true.
So what we do, Kirsty, is we look at a lot of information about each of the customers, up to about 8,000 pieces of data. That includes the underlying credit reference agencies. It includes even things about how they navigate our site. So, for example, if they slide right up to the right, it's a good indicator that they may not pay us back.
Does that take an hour, a day, a week?
Oh, it's an online service, like most online services. It's quite quick. That check can be made very quickly, and we mustn't confuse speed. We mustn't confuse speed with accuracy.
Well, exactly, because I was going to say that the thing about Liz Matthews is I spoke to her today, and she admitted to me that she had put down that she was employed on both occasions, and she wasn't employed.
Okay.
And so therefore, she received money from you, having clearly would not have passed an affordability check. So people do get access to money on Wonga and indeed other payday loan sites who are simply not capable of paying it back. She has got herself into terrible financial trouble now. And you have no way of checking that.
We have a lot of ways of checking that, Kirsty, and
but not with her.
Liz may be a case that I don't right now have the details in front of me. What we're here to talk about is that there are 1 million customers of whom the vast majority are happy, and that their voice has not been heard.
No, but
they're being misrepresented as people who are like Liz, as all poor and vulnerable and get themselves into a spiral of debt. That is simply not true.
It is the case that about 7.5% either have rollovers, which cost them a lot of money, or indeed do default on their total amount. Those people, would you agree, are often desperate and will say things to get money when they can ill afford to pay it back?
I would not agree that they're desperate. I think what you'll see, and the reason I'm actually here and sitting here and made that film was because I've spent since I joined the business last year, every week looking at our customer feedback, and I've actually been surprised by 2 things. One, the extremely positive reaction from many of our customers, including stories like you'll see in the film 12 portraits, and hundreds of thousands of others. And the second thing that I've been surprised about is the reaction of the media and other commentators to calling out the exceptions like Liz and assuming that everyone is like that.
No, but if we're talking about 7.5% rollovers and defaults, that's a substantial figure. But tell me, are you confident that customers know exactly the consequences of taking out a Wonga loan?
I'm very confident that we show everything as clearly and transparently as we possibly can. The price is marked very clearly on the sliders. The terms under which people borrow from us are marked very, very clearly. And the fact that 90% of our customers would recommend us to a friend is probably evidence that they agree with us.
But just talking about the implications, I want you to tell me how you explain this. And this is an interview we did with one of the country's most senior mortgage lenders.
Our experience is that if somebody's had a payday loan within the last few months, lenders will either automatically reject the application or will ask lots of questions about why that person can afford a mortgage now when they were clearly living from hand to mouth quite recently. And so in order to address that problem, because people don't appreciate the issues, I think it would be very sensible if payday loan lenders were required by the regulator to state on all their literature that taking out a payday loan may prejudice your ability to get a mortgage.
Now, that is a senior mortgage broker, and even if your customers are happy and pay back, the very fact of having taken out a wonga loan may impact on your ability to get a good mortgage.
So I can't possibly comment on the other financial institutions' policies, and the regulator will decide if they think that's an appropriate response.
He is a senior mortgage broker in the United Kingdom, and what he's saying is that on terms of a whole credit rating, if you've taken a wonga loan, you're less likely to get a decent mortgage. I've been on the website several times today, and nowhere do you say, caution, if you take out a wonga loan, it may prejudice your ability.
As I said, I can't comment on the policies of other financial institutions.
But do you
and
think
I don't
you
think,
should say that?
I don't think that is the policy of every single financial institution. What I think
but do you
is
accept,
being
look,
missed
just
here,
to stick with this, because this is about transparency, and I think it's really important because you claim that wonga is transparent. It is a fact that if you take out a loan from a payday loan company, when you go to put your mortgage application in, and goodness me, Help to Buy is tough enough, that it may impact on your ability to get a good mortgage. It would be very simple to put that rider on your website. Why don't you do it?
because, as I've explained, I don't know that is the policy of every single financial institution. As your colleague there says, or your interviewee says there, if the regulator thinks that's an appropriate thing to do, they'll do that. We're going through a process with the OFT are reviewing our business, the Competition Commission is reviewing our business, and the FCA are doing the same. I'm sure they will tighten up practices across the whole of the industry and deal with those things if necessary.
This is interesting because the regulator is looking at you. You say you want to be transparent, and obviously you want to do well out of the regulator's inquiry. Here's an opportunity to say, actually, caution, it may impact on your ability to get a good mortgage. Therefore, why don't you be proactive and put that on your website?
So there are a lot of things that are out there that we could do or others could do depending on their opinion. And what we see is that there is a huge misperception over the myths about wonga that's out there. And what we're trying to do is to show that actually that silent majority of people who are not being heard, and mainly commentators who haven't used the service, who haven't really taken and borrowed money for a week or 10 days or whatever, are making commentary about our customers. And we think that is very, very unfair.
That's not commentary about your customers. What this mortgage broker is saying is that the evidence of having a payday loan could impact on the chances of getting a decent mortgage. If you go and check that tomorrow, and that proves to be true, put it on your website now.
Kirsty, as I've said 2 or 3 times now, I don't know what the financial institutions' policies are. What I'm here...
we will find out and put it on your website.
We can absolutely find out about that.
And if it's true, put it on your website.
We will talk to the regulator about what the appropriate policy for us to do in that circumstance.
But why wouldn't you put it on your website? Because you think it might deter people from taking out a payday loan?
Kirsty, we're here to talk about misperceptions about customers, right? Many of the misperceptions is that it may affect something in their future life. They're poor and vulnerable, and the evidence that I see is that is not the case in the vast majority of cases. We have looked at our customer base and we have invited an independent person to examine that.
A vulnerable person. I think you misunderstand. I'm not suggesting that vulnerable people should be told that it might be difficult to get a good mortgage. I'm saying that anybody that takes out a payday loan, who maybe rents a wonderful house and wants to buy, may be impacted by the fact of having taken out a payday loan. Not necessarily people that are destitute, people that are in a position to be going to look for a mortgage. If it is the case that you check what that gentleman said tomorrow and find it to be true, will you, in the pursuit of transparency, put it on your website?
Well, I don't know which particular building society or bank he's referring to. We'll certainly have a look at that and I'll come back to you. I think the reality is if people don't pay back the money that they have agreed to pay back, and by the way, on average, we're lending money for 17 days, so it's not exactly a very long period of time. If they don't pay that back, then of course that may impact their credit rating, their underlying credit rating. But what we think is...
Even if it pay it back, it will impact. Oh, that is what I'm saying. This was a senior Kensington mortgage brokers, a senior figure in the industry, saying that it's not whether or not you pay it back on time, it's the fact of having had it.
I understood that point, and there are many other commentaries on our business, such as the price that you referred to in your intro, which are myths about our business. And what we're trying to do is to get people to reimagine, have a look at openwonga.com where we're sharing all of our stats, have a look at the film on there. You make your own judgment as to whether or not our product is fair and transparent, and those customers are intelligent people that actually, in my opinion, represent the average person in the UK.
Neil West, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.